Okay, we're going to describe the different keynote for the nighttime on Tisha B'Av. The first kina speaks of Zechor Hashem Hayalanu Oy. That's how it opens. There's a Oy and there's a Oy Mehayalanu. The Rambam says that the purpose of fasts and fast days is that we do tshuva, that we go through introspection and see what part we've played in what we're going through as individuals and as a nation. That's the main purpose of this elegy. In most of the stitches, it says "ki." This happened, "ki," because of this. And so we're supposed to really reflect and see what part we played. And that's hinted to in the language. First, it describes what went wrong. It says "oy," and then it describes what we did wrong, and it says "oy mehayalanu," which means "oy," what has happened to us. And it's this idea of lanu, what's happened to us, and the part we played, anachnu, us, is what we're supposed to be thinking about in the first elegy. Two examples of this are: we're hounded at our necks, "ki," because we hounded others hatefully. It says our fathers' slaves rule over us because we have failed to free our slaves. There's just two examples: the because, the oy mehaya lanu, the "ki." All this hints to the part that we played in the tragedies. The third kina, which we're going to describe now because the second kina is usually read on Motzei Shabbos, which doesn't happen this year. The third kina speaks about mourning in the night. It says Belel ze yivkayun v'yelilu banai. Speaks about us crying and moaning in the night, and that's the whole focus of this elegy. And we recite this elegy in the night, and that's connected. Also, we're supposed to be thinking about how the destruction began in the night, that our enemies began destroying the temple in the evening of the 9th of Av, and we're mourning that. And we're also thinking about the beginning of the destruction, kind of envisioning what it might have felt like when it first started, and the trauma around that. Another component we could be thinking about when it comes to night and morning is that the nighttime is a time of darkness. And when we're thinking about the temple, we have to remember that we might have a lot of brachas, lots of happiness, lots of joy in our lives, but all of that is dull compared to the joy and happiness we will experience in the time of the temple. And we are all, in some ways, in the night when it comes to our festive occasions and overall our spirituality. When we have the temple, we'll be in such great light and so enlightened that will not even compare to our situation right now. At a wedding, we break a glass under the chuppah. It's commonly understood to remind us that the temple's destroyed in our happiest moments. But it could also be to remind us that simcha that we're experiencing at that moment, it will be dull compared to the amount of simcha we will have getting married in the time of the temple, because we'll have just so many more blessings in our lives on a national and an individual level. Kina number 4 speaks about the two kingdoms, Yehuda and Yisrael, and how they betrayed Hashem, either by following other gods or by making alliances with other kingdoms against the advice of the prophets. And the language that's used to describe them is taken from Yechezkel 23. Yehuda is called Oholiva, and Yisrael is called Oholah. And the Kina describes all the tragedies that are befalling them as a result of them betraying Hashem. And the message behind this elegy is that when we don't make Hashem the source of our blessing, when we don't turn to Hashem as a nation and seek out our blessing and our good from Hashem, Hashem takes our blessing away from us, and Hashem removes it from us, and we suffer until we renew the covenant. We come back to Hashem, and Hashem restores our blessings once more. The message is always to turn to Hashem and to not go astray after our eyes, after foreign nations, of their behaviors, or looking to them as a source of our salvation. The language that's used to describe in Yechezkel is Oholiva and Oholah, as we said, and both of these have the root ohel in them, Aleph, Hey, Lamed. And ohel means tent. It's as if these two groups pitched a tent outside of Hashem's camp. So we want to pitch our tent in Hashem's camp, turn to Hashem, return to Hashem, and through that we'll see all of Hashem's immense blessings. The fifth kina, Ad Ana B'chia B'Tzion, speaks about how the destruction affects the whole world, the whole cosmos. and it goes through the 12 zodiac signs and explains how each one in the upper constellations is affected to the worst by the destruction of the temple. Some of the language that's used is Jerusalem's heavenly counterpart arranged to mourn, while the stars in the sky lamented. Jacob's tribes wept bitterly, the constellations dripped tears. This is based on Chagiga 5b, where it speaks about how the constellations also mourn when Israel is in its destruction. And the message behind this is that Tisha B'Av is not only about tragedies for individuals connected to the temple and Jewish history and for the nation, but really for the whole world and the whole cosmos. When Am Yisrael is not doing Hashem's will, and we don't have the temple in Jerusalem, everybody suffers. So we're praying very fervently that Hashem will restore the temple, not just for our nation's good, but for the good of the whole world and the whole universe. The more blessing we bring to the world through the temple, the more blessing everybody will enjoy throughout the whole universe. The zodiac signs, the constellations, the heavens, the heavenly bodies, and everything will be so much better with the building of the temple, B'ezrat Hashem.